Hi, I'm Rob from the Industrial Edge Computing Business Unit of Dialog Semiconductor. In this video, we will prepare your PC environment so you can work efficiently with the SmartServer IoT. Most of your interaction with the SmartServer is through your web browser, but support for distribution of example packages, to deploy custom software, and to retrieve logs, it is sometimes handy to have a few key tools, so let's get started. Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, is a free text editor from Microsoft that is built on an open source project to run on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. VS Code has a rich marketplace of extensions that target development and integration activities. This application is worth your time to install and learn to use. From your browser, go to this URL. Download and install the latest stable version. Select the options you prefer, adding the File Extend context menus and registering VS Code for supported file types is how I like to work. Spend some time in the docs section of the website. There are some great getting started videos. VS Code provides nice integration with Get. We use Get to share files for examples and interfaces and resources that are used on the SmartServer IoT. So let's get started learning about Get. The first thing you need to do is to go to github.com and sign up for a free GitHub account. You will need a username and password that will be used later. GitHub is where the repository for SmartServer IoT lives. Next, we need to install GetSCM. Go to getscm.com and download and install the version of Get that is appropriate for your PC operating system. Choose the download that matches your operating system. When you run the installer, you will find it is pretty thick with options. It's wise just to select mostly defaults. Here we're selecting the VS Code as the editor for Get. After finishing with the installer, open a Windows command shell and set the global config for GitHub username and password using these commands. With our username and email set in Get, we return to GitHub and search for izot/smartserver-IoT to find the repository used to share all examples related to SmartServer IoT. Click this button so that you can get a copy of the URL that represents this repository. Next, navigate to the folder where you want to keep your local repository. By typing CMD in the Windows File Explorer address bar, you make this your current working directory. The get clone command uses the URL from the GitHub repository as the input to create the repository on your local machine. Now I'm going to give you a taste for why VS Code is a great text editor. In File Explorer, we navigate to the root of the SmartServer IoT repository on our PC and launch a Windows command box from the address bar. On the left gutter are function selectors that control what happens in the navigation pane. Let's inspect one of the CSV file examples that is part of the starter kit. When I open the file, the raw CSV is difficult to edit cleanly. VS Code recognizes the CSV file extension and tells us in the notification flag in the lower right that there are extensions in the marketplace that can help. The extensions are ranked by download volume and user ranking. I actually find this one to suit my needs quite well. So let's click Install and use it in VS Code. Once installed, when the file is in focus, I use the Shift-Control-P to pull up possible extension commands that can apply. Once I have this view, I can easily make changes cell by cell and row by row. The file is not modified until I commit to save the original edit window or commit to save to the final file on disk. Here we will open a file that has a .md extension, which represents a markdown file. Markdown files use a simple markup language to create portable documents that are easy to render in a browser. In this folder, you see the documentation for the Microsoft Azure connector. When you open this file, you will see that in the raw view, it is kind of hard to use. To be more clear, We hit the marketplace and search for Markdown. Once installed, when I right-click the file, I can preview the Markdown as it will appear formatted in the browser. Pretty cool. There are occasions when you may need to connect to the SmartServer shell using an SSH terminal session. PuTTY is a solid choice as an SSH client. You are free to use other SSH client applications. Large sites that have more than one SmartServer, the SSH Connections Manager that is part of PuTTY is a useful feature. Most file transfers to the SmartServer are managed through the CMS interactions. There may be times when you need to move files to or from the SmartServer IoT file system. To accomplish this, you need a client application that supports Secure Copy or Secure File Transport Protocols, SCP or SFTP. I use WinSCP for this task. You can find this application in the Windows Store for $9.99, and with this $9.99 investment, you get automatic updates. You can also find a free version on the web. With Visual Studio Code, Get, PuTTY, and WinSCP installed on your PC, you are now ready to get started with the SmartServer IoT. From this point forward, most of your interactions with the SmartServer will be through your browser, either Chrome, Edge, Firefox, or IE. With your software toolbox loaded, let's get building.